Hello everyone. How are you guys? Um, I haven't uploaded in a whole month, and I felt like doing so now. Um, I don't just want to upload for the sake of uploading. I think um, I want to upload because I want to upload. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah. So something crossed my mind, and I just decided to speak it. I guess because I'm going to forget it otherwise. This is a quick little setup. Um, and it has to do with a funny feeling that I suddenly have about the future of South Africa, to be more specific. Um, Now, I have a serious question um, that I want to pose to people who, you know, aren't going to vote in the upcoming local municipal elections and I think it's end of October. Um, so here's the thing. I just um, I just registered to vote a few days ago, right? Initially, it was supposed to be done in person, but now you can actually do it online. Funny enough, I did it online. It was nice. It was quick. It was convenient. I didn't encounter any problems or any glitches or issues or any problems with the system. Thankfully, the system is working very well. Um, and that enhances my ability as a South African citizen to participate in free and fair elections. And I'm very happy that the IEC is maintaining that particular standard. So thank you to the IEC for that. Did I say the NC before? Oh no. Anyway, yeah, thank you to the IEC for that. Um, the registration process was fluent, it was swift, and I didn't have any problems. So again, thank you. Now, on to what I want to talk about. Um, I would like to talk about people who don't want to vote. Um, so ultimately, my position is actually quite simple. Funny enough, which is I have no sympathy for people who don't vote. I don't. Um, the number of people who voted in the last election, either municipal or general, doesn't matter. More and more people aren't voting in South Africa. I haven't seen the numbers for the people who are registered to vote this time. I haven't seen the numbers, but um, I'm pretty sure there's still a general kind of like you know depression and just pessimism about voting, and that's what I want to talk about today, right? Now, here's the thing. I've pinpointed three kind of like types of people, or groups of people, or categories of people. And I'm going to talk about them one by one, and I'm going to end up with the one that I really want to talk about. Um, Now, the first group of people is the people who are going to vote. And I am one of those people. Um, and if you have decided to vote, my piece of advice for you would be actually quite simple. Do your research, know who you're voting for. Don't vote because of nepotism or loyalty or you know I know people who vote based on like racial lines and stuff. Don't do any of that stupid stuff. I know people who vote based on gender lines as well. Like, don't do any of that stuff, right? um know your candidates, know who you're voting for, know the history of your candidates, know the history of the political party that your candidates represent. Know the policies that your 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 candidate is proposing, and so on. Do your research to the point where you don't feel guilty or regret casting your ballot the way you did. Um, do your research to the point where you don't feel bad about the person you selected, right? Way too many people just vote because they vote. I don't know if that makes any sense. Way too many people vote for the sake of voting. For example, I would say old people in this country vote for the sake of voting. Um, and that's a big problem because a lot of old people are, first of all, uneducated. Uh, I think we all know why that's the case, but I'm not going to go there right now. So, old people are uneducated, and hence it makes it very easy for example, the ANC to be more specific, um, to manipulate them. There's a lot of appeal to emotion that the ANC usually uses. If you pay attention, they use a lot of appeal to emotion around election time. Because that's what works. Whenever you talk about policy, old people just don't get it. Policy tends to be really complicated, and it requires a large kind of effort that you as an individual have to drive into research. That's pretty much it. What is the policy? What are the consequences? Right? You have to look into like other countries, for example. Um, has it been implemented in other countries, and how did it work out, right? And what are the circumstances or the environments or whatever, right? That is found in that country, right? What's the environment that was found in that country when the said policy was implemented, and what's the environment that we find in our country, and what are the similarities, the differences, all these things, right? All this research that you have to do, and old people don't tend to do that stuff, right? Old people, unfortunately, tend to be more or less satisfied with like housing because they grew up in a time when housing wasn't like a thing, and running water wasn't a thing, like electricity wasn't a thing, and all that other stuff. So this is a big problem in our country's politics in general. Um, but right now, I want to speak specifically to the people who are in a position to do their research. Please do your research. Know your candidate, know their policies, know their history, know the history of the political party, and do your best to make sure that by the time you walk out of that room and you've cast your ballot, you don't regret it. And when I say you don't regret it, I don't just mean regret as in like emotion. I mean, you don't regret it from the point of view that you have made the best possible decision for not just yourself, but for your community as well, right? So good luck to that. Good luck for that, rather. And I hope you make the right decision. Now, the second group is people who are undecided. And to those people, I would basically say, do the same thing that I just said, like to the first group. That's pretty much it. Um, just vote. No matter what you do, just vote. It's very important that you do that, right? Now, I don't have much to say with regards to the second group. I don't think there is much to say. Um, Doing your research a lot of the time does tend to, narrow down the possible options because the thing is, I am of the opinion that there has never been this many people in South Africa who are just either undecided as to which political party to support or just plain uninterested in politics in general, There's a huge, huge pool to draw from in that particular regard. So, to those people, make a plan, bruh, because you can't. Please don't become one of the people who didn't vote, right? Now, this brings me to the people who don't want to vote to begin with. And this is kind of like the crux of this video, and why I just decided to make it. Because first of all, I'm pissed. It pisses me off that there exist people in this country who don't want to vote, right? But as with pretty much any other topic, there's an explanation for all of this, right? And before I get into any of this, I want people to understand that I more or less understand where you're coming from. You know, um, what's the point of voting when, first of all, the same political party that you voted for has screwed you over ultimately for what, the last 12 years or so, ever since Jacob Zuma became president, more or less, in what, 2008, no, 2009. The same political party has screwed you over, right? That's number one. Um, Number two, there don't seem to be any tangible, you know, um, opposition parties that you can at least take refuge in. Because unfortunately, for example, if you are, you know, black, like me, um, I I don't think I would ever vote for the DA. I don't. I look at the DA, for example, right, and this is just me. I look at the DA and I think to myself, these people are not interested in change. They're not interested in transformation. They're not interested in, you know, well, acknowledging more than anything the fact that people were screwed over, right? They're not interested in acknowledging that people were screwed over, and because people were screwed over, you know, social justice has to take its course, right? Now, to those who are watching this video and thinking, "Oh, this is victim complex," it's not. It's true that people were screwed over, and people being screwed over means that there has to be some kind of restitution, right? There has to be some kind of wealth redistribution as well. There has to be some kind of inclusion of not just black people but Indian people and colored people as well as women into the economy. And the DA is not interested in any of that. If you are poor, the DA just sees you as a vote, just like the ANC, right? So, for example, that's just me. Um, and I look at things like this and I think to myself, so we have a political party, the ANC, that is basically just ruining not just the country but itself, because they're broke now, they can't pay their own staff, they didn't even flipping register for elections in certain districts in KZN. I mean, the party is a mess. The party is a mess, right? They're split up. I don't know how many times now, because a lot of people like to think the ANC split up like just now. No, it didn't. It split up all the way back to the days of Cope in what, 2009, and then Julius split up as well, and then Herman Mashaba also came up with this political party, Action SA, and he took some people from the ANC and incorporated them in there as well, right? So now we have a situation where there's a bunch of factions, and no one knows where the ANC is going, and by default, no one knows where the country is going. So now we have a situation where the ruling party is a mess. The opposition doesn't seem to know what it's doing. And when I mean doesn't seem to know what it's doing, I'm talking about the EFF. Because some of the policies that the EFF are advocating for, not to mention the fact that the EFF is literally, Julius has literally just come out and said some racist fucking shit. I don't condone any of that. I'm not a supporter of that, right? I'm not a supporter of people who come out and just do Julius things, man. Like, I'm not a big fan of that, right? I don't want to be associated with people who more than anything, sow division in South Africa instead of unity, which I think unity is like a pipe dream, but I still like, I prefer to vouch or strive for a pipe dream than, you know, sow division. I mean, it's just not good enough. It isn't. Now I've flagged some of my concerns with the DA and so on, right? But not to mention the fact that the smaller parties also don't have that much of an effect in South African politics to begin with. Um, Now, back to the person who doesn't want to vote. Ugh, that's my alarm. Um, Back to the person who doesn't want to vote, right? I understand where you're coming from. Um, there's no alternatives. The current party is horrible. Um, you know, service delivery is horrible. Education is horrible. Uh, Healthcare is horrible. Financial management of our country is horrible. The banking sector is horrible. Everything's just horrible under the ANC, funny enough. And a lot of people make the argument that, oh, it's always been horrible. No, it hasn't. This is the sad thing about this whole thing. The ANC was actually doing quite well until Zuma. Um, and then that's when everything just started to go downhill, you know? Now, I understand where you're coming from. I understand that you're frustrated. I understand that you're angry of standing in line for hours to vote and then nothing changes. I understand that, right? However, you cannot, and I repeat this, okay? You cannot complain about the state of this country if you don't vote. You can't not vote now and then 2 years down the line complain that there's still no service delivery, even though you didn't vote. If I come to you and I say, hey, I see your life's a mess, I see that your community's a mess. What if I gave you a solution to all of this? And I said, it's not going to be easy, it's not going to be immediate, but at least it's something we can do. Right? And I say, we live in a democracy. It's entirely possible to vote these people out. Now, I know for the past 27 years or so, the ANC has been so powerful that really it just looks like it's impossible for any party to kind of dethrone them at the top of South African politics, right? But the existence of the DA being the governing party of the Western Cape, the sheer fact that was, they were able to achieve that is proof enough that if enough people actually turn up and they vote, the ANC can be deposed. The ANC is not invincible. And I think way too many people think that the ANC is invincible because, well, a lot of us just grew up with the ANC being, the top guy, the top girl, the top dog. Now, so here's the thing. My whole argument when it comes to people who don't want to vote is really simple. You have no right, my guy. You have no right to complain about the state of this country when you actively contributed to, well, everyone being where they are by not voting. Whether you like it or not, voting has an impact. Whether you like it or not, it has an impact. And you have to play your part. Otherwise, shut up. It's that simple. It's not complicated. Vote or shut up. If you vote for the ANC after they've done what they've done and you still complain, also shut up. We've gotten to a point in this country where the only way to get out of this mess is to not vote for the ANC. To the masochists who keep complaining about the ANC and still vote for them, honestly, you deserve it at this point. So, I'll say this once again. I have no sympathy for people who vote for the ANC and still complain. I also have no sympathy for people who don't vote and still complain as well, even though voting is a way to, it's been demonstrated that voting does change countries and shit, right? So make a plan, fam. Make a plan. You can't do the same thing over and over and expect different results. That just doesn't make sense. So yeah, to everyone who's gonna vote, good luck on election day. Um, I have a feeling that this election is actually gonna be revolutionary. Funny enough, um, and I'm somehow optimistic about the future of South Africa. This is my home. This is my country. I have no choice but to be optimistic about where we're going. As much as everything just looks down, everything just looks like it's the opposite, I still choose to look at the positives. Um, and the only way to amplify the positives, the only way to add more positives to the table is to depose the ANC. That's pretty much it. To the people who still think the ANC can change, the ANC can reform, I'm sorry, but you can't do that. You can't think the ANC can reform when we've given them this long. And the funny thing is, they were doing well until Zuma. And then it's been like, what, 11 years now since Zuma took over? It's been hell since then. They destroyed a whole country in 11 years. Imagine what's going to happen if you give them 5 more in the next election, or the general election anyway. So please, I'm not telling you who to vote for, but what I am telling you is please do your research. And at the end of the day, your emotions must not be a part of it. Please. Um, yeah, like, share, and subscribe, and all that other good stuff. Do all that stuff that cool people do. Okay. I'll see you guys another time. And yeah, this was just a quick thought, man. Um, thank you for listening, and I appreciate it.